No further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Lance, and I'll continue to keep coming back and forth throughout the day. But good morning, good afternoon, just greetings to wherever you are in the world today. All right, we're going to turn it over to Lance.
Hi, this is Lance Bush. Kelly, are we ready to go? All right, I'm going to assume we are a go right now. Thank you for having me on. And good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I know this is an international conference with people around the globe. And I've got some slides to share with you today, so you won't be subjected to my face this whole time. Lucky for you. We're going to move on. I'm going to just go ahead, and if you give me a moment, I'm going to start the presentation slides, and I'm going to leave some time for questions afterwards. So as you think of them, you can put them in the discussion bars, and but I'll get back to them. So this morning, or whatever time it is for you, I'm giving you a look into my organization, or how to use innovative STEM programs to help K-12 students succeed in the workforce. And we have a Challenger Center where I'm the CEO and president. We have 35 years of experience doing this, and so I'm hoping to give you just a little bit of insight in a short period of time. So let's just get started. Just so you know where we come from, and a philosophy of this is that today's students, we believe today's students are tomorrow's innovators. And so for us, it's not just K through 12 education. We even start with the philosophy of we're part of the workforce development. And if you see the bottom line there, we talk about that's really kind of what we do is we ignite their potential. And you'll see in this presentation that we believe that igniting the inspirational part is the key to helping them to get to the workforce. And so one thing that we're seeing the world over is that the challenge that is out there right now is that on the right-hand side of the screen, you see that the number of jobs requiring STEM skills is just increasing more and more. It's hard to get away from technology. And as well, on the left side of the screen, what has happened for decades in many communities is that we lose students' interest in these difficult subjects, mostly by, and what we say in the U.S. 8th grade, it's really about the age of 12. By the right old age of 12, we've turned off about 50% of the population. And so the shame of this is that we've limited their opportunities in life and your country's competitiveness. And so it makes it hard. So for us, what we found to address this issue is inspiration is the key. And you have to, inspiration's a kind of a soft word, of course, and I think we all know what it means, but some of the key components of that are they need to be engaged. How do you make some of these STEM subjects engaging? You need to, at the end of our programming, we want them to have self-efficacy, that feeling that they can do this. We want them to have career awareness, that there's a path, that they see context to this and a vision. And lastly, and this is one of the key things that has been difficult in education, which is to create an experience where you can really model great communication, collaboration, problem-solving skills. And so these are the outcomes we're looking for. And as well, let me delve a little deeper into these 21st century skills. These, as you know, I know I'm talking to educators, so you well understand these are prized by industry. I will say that I work with Fortune 500 companies like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Aerojet, Rocketdyne, Blue Origin. And a lot of these are space companies, but they're high tech, and we work with others as well, energy companies. And one thing they tell us is that you absolutely, they're capable to some degree of finding these technical skilled people, but without these 21st century skills, it doesn't help them. They must have these skills, and they are actually saying that these are the areas in which education needs to help more. Our programs, and we'll show you later how this works, have this built in, this aspect of teamwork. And so these are key to success. And so when you ask, I've told you what you need, and these are these building blocks, these three components of how you keep these students engaged in this. You have to give them context that has to matter to their lives. And they have to see a vision like themselves in this. And of course, it has to be inspirational, cool. If I break this down one step more, and if you see on the right-hand side, I have those building blocks, but these are the actual components of how we do this. We do role play of STEM careers, so students can become scientists, they're astronauts, they're explorers, they can be technicians in these role plays. They're given this meaningful opportunity to build these 21st century skills, which gives context. Typically, we put them in these scenarios where they're on an exciting mission, but they have to solve something, and to do it, they have to communicate across teams that they're working on. And the experience is immersive. It has a combination of computer-driven simulation, hands-on activities. These are all components that we all know as educators are kind of the highest order of learning gains. And they are wrapped around STEM concepts again, it's important to have real-world scenarios that are inspirational. A lot of our missions our core missions are space missions, so it makes it a little bit easy to be inspirational. And lastly are these last two bullets, which are that they are informed by real science data and aligned with national education standards. And the real science data comes from my partners like NASA and NOAA, and the national education standards, depending on where we are, and sometimes state educational standards. I think you should take note that I put these at the end of the chart and not the beginning. And they're the real, in some ways, these are the core knowledge that is trying to be translated. But what you notice from my presentation is that the content is kind of a secondary issue in terms of me thinking about how do we really help these students? Because what you really have to do is make it exciting, make it a story for them, make them see themselves in it, help them get there. These concepts can be fun, they can love them, and I am going to show you an example of it and show you what happens with these students. And so the way we do this is twofold. There's center missions, and you can see this picture on the left. It is not the Star Trek Enterprise. That's actually in one of our Challenger Learning Centers, as well as we have another thing called Classroom Adventures, which I will get to. So with that, I'm going to, if you'll just bear with me, I'm going to show you a video inside of a Challenger Learning Center. And
the crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger was dedicated to a mission inspired by education. No laser was tragically lost in the mission. The families in the crew created Challenger Center space science education. The main time learning then realized that science is not something skill, and it's now just on a test. And this was science. Children Center launches students in the space center. Inspiring and engaging with science, technology, and engineering. challenge our learning center does indeed make learning fun. It makes me feel kind of proud about myself because I can go back to school and I can share and learn. Success is something that happened as a child. This is a fantastic experience for us. As a child, out of this world experience.
All right. So I hope you were inspired by that as much as I am every time I watch it. As you can see, the students are fully engaged. They have a mission that they go on. These are often kind of almost like if you've seen the Apollo 13 movie, which is based on the reality of that mission. We throw in at them these off-nominal, what we affectionately call in the space community, off-nominal situations, meaning, hey, we might die. The students really rise to the challenge. And as you can see, they have to communicate across, you saw some of them talking, they have their headsets on, they're talking across teams from the spacecraft to mission control. They're gathering data, they're doing the hands-on. So they're doing all these things I talked about. It's been very, very effective. And we do this for middle school students, as we talked about earlier in the presentation. For us, this is a huge area in which we need to really help students get kind of over the hump of, why am I doing this? This is, given the depth of this programming, it's delivered by trained flight directors. Those are the people in the blue flight suits. These are really very skilled educators, and some of the happiest people I've ever seen. They get to fly to Mars or the moon every day and come back with a happy crew. These simulations, while it's a couple hours long, it has pre and post mission curriculum for the classroom teachers that can use it. They can build an entire science unit around this experience. And we have 4 different missions, and the reason for that is, not only can we go to different places, but really so that we can provide different levels of education to hit different topics and different standards. So these are scaffolded across the different age ranges. As well, we have classroom adventures. And so this is another way, for us to address these students. Now, it's really not any different method. It's really just a different delivery mechanism. And the reason we did this about 6 years ago, we went digital on some of this, is that we wanted to get to more students. We wanted to be able to get to remote areas who might not be able to get to a Challenger Center. And we also wanted to reach down a little further. More recent studies are showing that if you're not engaging students as 3rd to 5th graders, a little younger audience, so you're talking about like 8, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, you're really going to have a hard time having them turn the corner and be engaged in science for their lives by, in this, middle school period, which is, the middle school period, which is the 10th through the ages like 10 through 12. So we develop classroom adventures based on all these same ideas. And I'm just going to give you a little taste of this. We went in a little different direction. We used, and by different direction, I mean we did not use space missions, because there's a lot of exciting adventures in the world. And frankly, we wanted to tie in some other sciences. And so we've got 3 missions right now: Aquatic Investigators, which takes students to the bottom of the ocean, Dirt Decoders, and Nature Rangers. And these have they're web-based. They're delivered in classrooms by their teachers. And so it's a plug-and-play approach, very simple. We've tested with 8,000 students to date, more than 8,000. It's being delivered in schools across the U.S. and now starting very soon in Malaysia. And it has, in addition to the simulation, it has engineering activities, science writing exercises, and we're getting, engagement results of about 4.8 out of 5, which is our major measure of keeping the students engaged. So I'm going to just show you again. This is just a little intro clip that that happens with each of the missions. And it just gives you a sense of the feeling that the students get and the feedback we get from them. So again, just if you'll bear with me, I'll get this video started. And it's just a quick video.
Scientists, are you ready for your adventure? Let's go!
So with that, I just want to wrap up and share with you that the impact we've had, so you get a sense of the success of this formula. We've worked with over 5.5 million students to date. And, one of the things I want to point out is this is most of these numbers are numbers of us working in that, in-person method. This isn't just, clicks on a website. These are the students we've actually seen run missions with over the years and have had a huge impact in their lives. And the approach that we used won us a lifetime award from the National Science Board, which are presidentially appointed scientists to the National Science Foundation. They give out an award once a year to the organization who's best educated the public about science in the U.S. They don't always give it out every year, but we received this award in 2017. And here's the real testimony to what we do. To me, this is the part that makes me smile the biggest. I'm going to show you a few of our alumni. We've been around 35 years, so we have people who are in the workforce. And here's a young lady named Tess. She grew up in a very rural community in Alaska, and she came to Challenger Center, just thought it just inspired her to a career path. And so she went off and got a degree in engineering. And from there went to got herself into another small school called Brown University and got a PhD in planetary sciences. And from there, she was studying on a fellowship to NASA at Columbia University on identifying habitable exoplanets. Currently, she is working at Blue Origin, training to be their Capcom for the New Glenn system. And so she completely followed her bliss, and she attributes all of this to having her eyes opened. Here she was in a rural community in Alaska, and at the age of 12, realized like, wow, there's this exciting world out there I want to be a part of. And she's gone off and she's doing it. And Tess is a wonderful, uplifting lady who's doing some great work now, and I've been able to visit with her at Blue Origin, who's one of our partners, to see the work they're doing. This is, I want to give you a few examples here. This is Taylor Young. He's a little, not as far along in his career, but Taylor as well went to a Challenger Center. He grew up as well in a very rural area in Kentucky, where it's just coal mining, and that industry, as you know, died. And he was, these students don't have a lot of inspirational models for them. And he went to a Challenger Learning Center, and what vibed for him was kind of the hands-on aspect of it and doing. And he realized he wanted to be an engineer. And so he went off to the University of Louisville, and he's studying, and he we'll have to tune in with him later in his career to see where he goes. But he attributes his interest in his path to his time at Challenger Center. And lastly, I'm going to share with you, this is France Jackson. She grew up in another part of the United States, South Carolina, and she went off, what you want to notice is the bottom line, what she shared with us about her experience. And she says, essentially, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be where I'm at or where I'm going if it were not for the Challenger Learning. She said it had a profound effect on her. And so she went off and got a PhD in human-centered computing and is working as a researcher at Intel Corporation. She's an amazing young lady. And one of the things I want to point out is not only are these a great representative of the alumni we have out there, in the sense that they're motivated, they were inspired, they're going off, following careers and doing things they might not have done, but they have a good heart and soul in them. All three of these have come back and volunteered in their Challenger Learning Centers when they come home, and have agreed to help others in the next generation. So that's one of the things we're most proud of. So I want to just stop there. I'm going to get out of this presentation and the screen and open it up for Kelly. It's open up for questions. I left about 6 minutes left. I was hoping for more, but as usual, I talk more than I should. So.
That's great. Lance, could you talk just a little bit more about free resources that you have? How can, maybe just walk participants through on how to access that information?
Yes, thank you, Kelly. And I really appreciate that. So if you go to challenger.org, I think, and I should know this answer, but challenger.org, I think there is at the top of the website, there is a bar for resources or our programs. In fact, I have Molly O'Neill and Lisa Vernal, two people from my staff, are in the conference right now, and then maybe they can share with you the exact link in the discussion portion. But to point out is that we have, because of our decades in service and our partnership with NASA, and others, we have literally thousands of lesson plans and curriculum and activities, including Krista McAuliffe's lessons that she was the teacher in space who was on Challenger, and she never got to actually fly the lesson plan she was going to, but a few years ago, just 2 years ago. a couple of astronauts, educator astronauts at NASA. We're going to fly on the space station. That was Ricky Arnold and Joe Acaba, really great guys, and only 2 of the 5 educator astronauts over the lifetime of the program. They came to me and said, "We know you're the keeper of Krista's lessons. We think we would love to fly her less, like actually take them up there, do the experiments, film them, and have them for students." And we thought it was a great idea. The time had come. We checked with Krista's family. They said it was a great idea. So those are actually there. That's typical of the kind of resources we have. There are videos that you can teach the science with, and with the astronauts on the space station. And by the way, all of this programming is as well is overseen by some great folks that we have working with us. Barbara Morgan was Krista McAuliffe's backup and eventually flew a mission herself. And she's chaired our education committee for years. And she is now co-chairing it with Dottie Metcalf-Lindbergh, who's also an educator astronaut. So we have relationships with all 5 of them. And our programming, we have a lot of free programming out there available to people. So, if you can't quite get to building a Challenger Learning Center yet, or we haven't worked, and we're happy to talk with people about the digital program we have to help you get that in your community. But there's a lot of free resources out there. Happy to answer questions, and I'll be on a VIP chat tomorrow. And you can always email us. Our contacts are on the challenger.org. Thank you, Kelly. Great question.
Yeah, thank you for that. And actually, Barbara Morgan is on this morning with us as well. So that's terrific there. One thing I do want to encourage everyone is to go to your VIP chat, because personally, I just think you have a fascinating background. And I think, just what you have done and what you've experienced with NASA, working with the Challenger Center, just all of the work, I think it's really inspirational. So I would love for people to join your chat so they could ask some of those questions, but also, some of the challenges and obstacles that you've also faced along the way, and how that's just been such an inspiration to supporting students all over the world. And when you showed those last 3 students there, I just think it's a real inspiration to say the work that you're doing, the reach that you have is just amazing. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, I look forward to sharing with folks how we got started with this organization and a little more depth in what we do. And thank you for emphasizing these students and what they've overcome and how they succeed. I'll just reemphasize that by saying, one thing that gets a little bit of sometimes people make an assumption about us that we're like this advanced placement, in kind of affluent communities or something like that. And we can do, our programming can be tailored, to all different types of learners. So we work with advanced placement students, but actually our Challenger Learning Centers, the majority of them are located in underserved communities. And what we're really trying to do is, probably it was implied, is open up. We want to get the biggest number of students engaged in STEM education. And the places we can make the biggest impact are where they don't have a lot of capability resources for that. And so we're most proud when we can see, as you noted, I showed young ladies who maybe 20 years ago when they were doing this weren't exactly being encouraged in their STEM classes, or minority students. And so we are seeing huge impacts. We're really proud of those outcomes. And I'm really happy to share more and more of the story. It's all kind of uplifting, and anything I can do to help anybody, their thoughts about their programming, or anything we can do with our program to help them. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate you doing it at this hour. We had a great international audience there, and I think it's just great to be able to share all of this information. So again, there were links that were put into the discussion, so I just encourage everybody to check that out as well. And There was another question about teachers using classroom adventures if their schools are still online this fall. I know we're out of time on that, but I'm going to ask Lance or Molly or someone from your team if they could just go into the chat session to respond to that for everyone, because I think that's a great question. We just don't know what our learning is going to be this fall, so that would be a fabulous resource to use as well. So Lance, I want to thank you.
Oh, thank you, Kelly, for having me. It's an honor to be in this robust group of experts, and you've done a phenomenal job with this conference. And thank you all the participants for getting up with me early or late or whatever. And we'll get back to you with all the answers. And essentially, it's kind of yes, that there are lots of ways to use these. We're working diligently to make as much possible to folks recognizing they might not be in classrooms.
Great.
We'll post that.
Perfect. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Lance. And I loved all the thumbs up there. I think that's just great when you see them come up there.